Welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time for the updated Battlegrounds rankings. We do these in between seasons when we've had a chance to maybe stress test or learn a little bit more about some champions. Do they really deserve where they are ranking? Maybe sometimes open our eyes. And then also it allows us a chance to input the new champions who've just come into the game. And we have two that are definitely going to be making a splash on the scene. You already saw them play a very large factor in the Vega Battlegrounds Championship Battle Realm FinTech versus MCL with Silk there. Now, a large intro. If you want to go directly to the rankings, I'll put the timestamp in so you can jump straight to it. But make sure you stay and listen if you don't already know the legend very well, or if you're not going to look at it or something like that. And then also, this is linked. This being the spreadsheet is linked in the description. So you can bring this up, and then I will always do this, the screenshot size edition. Misty K helps me out with that, and then I get it out on my Twitter page, and that is also should be linked in the description of this as well. The legend, very quickly, I think it's there, and you can kind of see it. Sometimes we're gonna have offensive, defensive purposes outside of where they're ranked, recoil masteries. Newness may be enhancing that. We talk about that a lot, right, in the tournament formats of this champion's brand new, so people just don't know their move set, making punishes and things like that a little bit harder. It's not their fault. This is Penny Parker is like the epitome of this, is that they were such a good defender, and she really is a good defender, but then they came out with some counters that just absolutely destroy her. Hello, Gallon, right? And those counters are often in decks already. With the little crystal ball, it's early, be careful, meaning like they could be a new champion, or maybe we've just recently put them up there like we did in the last rankings with the scoring change. Have some of those working out very well. The 7-star could really be enhancing their effectiveness. We see how powerful the 7-stars are in relation to the 6-stars, so there might be something going on there. Keep that in mind. And then the little video game master means skillful use and strategy might be required. Toad, let's look at Toad like that. Personally, for me, he is not a dual threat tier above all champion because I don't use him well enough. I don't set him up well. But many of the guys on the MCoC Illuminati, those really smart players that I listen to, their videos and their channels to get better at this game and have for years, and then make this spreadsheet better and get all their experience and advice, they can use Toad really well. And if you're skilled and skillful like them and you watch their videos, you can learn to do it too. All right, now let's go and jump into this. And the one thing I want to point out is that in the very beginning of this, I think we've done this now 11, 12, 13 times or something like that, because we did this even when it was in the beta program for the CCP, is at that time, I was like all about the dual threats. They were not only the building block of my deck, but they were the all be all. I wanted 30 of them if I could possibly do it. As this mode has developed, and not surprising that this has happened, I believe that pure attackers and pure defenders are just as important. And so you want to go ahead and look at that. You want to see it because there's going to be champions who are incredibly valuable for your deck, how you build it, how you ban, and how you go about drafting your champions that are just as important in the attacker and the pure defender as there are in the dual threats. Okay? So much of this is strategy. You can do better. You can get better at this. And then the last part there is champions are always listed in the best possible tier and category, so we don't have duplicates and that sort of thing. We kind of made a call where we think they'd be best put, and then they go. All right, let's go ahead. There's not as much to talk about as there was last month, because last month was a very large revamp. We've decided how to try to make this look better for everyone, more understandable, more visually, it makes sense. So the tier above all and dual threats. Now, it is still the building block of my deck, but I don't want all my champions to be dual threats, but here we are. So this is where I have my building block. The first one we're talking about is Quicksilver. I do think like the scoring changes helped him out a lot, right? I know a lot of the community finds it kind of funny that the Speedster can be a little bit slower. Not looking to get into that debate because I do think they did a good job thematically with him, but I think people are really starting to see that power. I'm very happy as a big fan of the Quicksilver in the game. Think he's very powerful. I'm very excited to see that. And then of course, what an annoying defender. What an absolutely annoying defender. So that is working out very well. The next one we'll talk about is in the tech category with infamous Iron Man. I can't stand him. This is another one where I really am trusting and leaning on the MCoC Illuminati. I don't like playing him. I did the war video. I was like, maybe he's better than I thought. And I guess he is better than I thought. Maybe what just comes down to is I just don't enjoy playing him. And that's okay. I actually think that's good about this game. There's so many. I like that they're diving into different kind of like play styles, thematic things with the champions. I just don't like him. That being said, I also hate fighting him. A lot of you who've gone up against me in Battlegrounds learned that the good way. You've placed him and maybe didn't think I had a great counter, and you came out and you're like, wow, that my infamous Iron Man just destroyed Vega. So I do think he is fitting there. It makes sense to me. I get it. In the right meta, I think he can even be a phenomenal attacker or the right defender. But there we are. Lady Deathstrike. This is another one where I am going to get out my video on it. It's just there's been a lot going on. As those of you who pay a lot of attention to my channel know, I do see her power. I like that she has abilities. I believe it's the unstoppable, right, on the specials. That's not just limited to mutants. Her heal block's obviously not limited to mutants. Her damage source isn't limited to mutants. So I do like that about her, that she gets stronger against mutants. It's also great that she's just such a dominant counter for Wolverine Weapon X. She's a very difficult defender. Even with Nimrod, it can go sideways if you mess it up. So I do like that about her. I'm not finding her to be as outrageously difficult to fight. I'm having people beat mine with what appears to be relative ease. That's a little bit of a surprise. So if this was purely on my experience, I would actually probably move her out of here. But again, this is where, the experience of watching these channels, talking to the players, they feel strongly that she should be there. It makes sense to me. You can utilize her. So Lady Deathstrike, I will eventually get a video on her, but mine's on an unawakened 7-star. She is rank 2, but not awakened. And I do think that hinders her even as a 7-star. All right, let's go ahead and continue to move on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and approach attackers as a whole. It's the whole group of attackers we have broken them down into tiers. It was one of the changes we made last month, was just making the dual threats only a single tier, right? And that helps us, I think, show how great some attackers are and things like that. So I feel really good about that change. There's no changes in the Mystic class. You can see them right there. The first change is in the Science class. And our first new champion, meaning new to the game, in Silk. Wow. Did she come in and make a strong, prominent, immediate difference for FinTech? And what I loved is that it was not just against Mystic champions. Now, Mystics do tend to be the best defenders in Battlegrounds, right? I think some of them are built as defenders, but then also Mystic Dispersion is coming in. And so having someone who can come in and take a Dr. Doom, let's say, right, with I think it's called her Sunder that she has, it reduces the crit resistance to 0. She has a very nice evade mechanic, so it can help you out with very difficult to evade specials, like maybe a Mangog or something like that. And then if you play her skillfully enough, and B McG has a really nice video out on this, and then of course FinTech showed it in the championship match. If you play her quickly enough with a high enough skill, you can produce, I'm going to say it, phenomenal numbers. It really is phenomenal. I really like her. There's a reason why I was motivated to try to grind her out. I wasn't able to complete it, but I did put forth a lot of effort for a grind that I did not know if I'd be able to do. And it's because I see how powerful she is. B McG has also said it and kind of shown it, I think, in his videos, that she's a little unique for the Science class. I really like her. I don't know if she was built specifically for Battlegrounds, but that's one of these things I like about champions, right? They're well built, they have variety, they have resilience, they have uniqueness in their class, and then they also happen to be good at Battlegrounds. For me, that's a champion that's gonna be a little bit harder to slow down, and as meta shift, right? Because this is a default how you building your roster with an eye towards Battlegrounds. You're gonna have to shift it around for each individual meta. I think champions like that are going to be ones that are harder for metas to just X out. Really do want Silk. I'm not done with that. I will eventually get Silk and rank her up. Moving on, we have our first buff champion to make their appearance on the list, and that's Mantis. Well done. Whoever did that, well done. That is exactly what she needed, and I would imagine a champion like Mantis would be very difficult to buff. Now, some of you probably have even blocked this out, or maybe you didn't even know, but I got her very early, and I was like, she needs a buff. I was told I was a moron. I might be a moron, but that doesn't mean I was wrong about that. I think she got exactly the buff that she needed. I'm seeing Gnawhorn, which again, you can check out the playlist on my channel, but I prefer if you just go to these guys' channels, just subscribe to them, and then you can see these videos without even having to go to the playlist. Did a phenomenal job. He's been using a 7-star rank 2 Mantis, and the reason why I think the buff was so good is he's not just picking on like 6-star rank 4s. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? He was up to like Celestial 4 or 5 or something like that at various times in the season. And that's sometimes who you're facing is rank 4 defenders. I have rank 4 champions in my deck. So there's nothing wrong with that. But what I wanted to see was how was she doing when she wasn't punching down? And with enough skill, she was doing great. Great. I like that. I would like to get a Mantis of my own. I don't know if I will rank her up because the skill set that's required for her might be a bit outside what I would like to do. And I do feel like she can get shut down a little bit. This is kind of a champion, like I said, who is designed specifically for Battlegrounds. That being said, I cannot deny, and I don't want to deny, how phenomenal she is for Battlegrounds in doing the damage and taking a variety of defenders, not just science champions. I really do like her, and like I said, I think the buff was probably difficult to do because I think this concern with a champion like her, with this large cash out, we're not going to talk about Shocker today, but I'm a little worried about Shocker too, is because when they have this one large cash out moment, you can see there being a lot of concern about making that too strong. They did a nice job with Mantis. I feel like, she gets the more of her sleepy stuff or whatever it's called when she has the Intimidate on. I think it was very nice. Still forces some skilled play, but if you can't play her exceptionally well in that moment, you're not going to get quite as good results. I've talked about that a lot with DLL champions. I like that. You play them well, you get really good results. You play them excellently, you get phenomenal results. I feel like they threaded the needle there with Mantis. She deserves to be up there. Some of you might even think she should go a little bit higher. I feel good with her there. It's a tier. It's meant to be a tier. All right, let's go ahead and move on. The next one we'll talk about is Mutant, and this is in the top shelf. This isn't the highest tier of Mutant attackers. If I was able to get the 6-star Gambit Relic, there's a chance he could get moved up because he handles Korgs and Atumas very well. I will be getting my Gambit video out. It looks like it's scheduled to have it on Monday, so it could be Monday or Tuesday. Make sure you keep an eye out for it, or depending on when you're seeing this video, you could even just go to the playlist on my channel. I'm sure it'll be there with Gambit. I really like him. I've had some phenomenal results with him. I only have the 5-star Gambit Relic, and it misses a lot. The crit on the SB2 misses a lot. I've still managed to win some of the fights, but if my opponent had a better matchup and pulled off a better score, I would have lost. Absolutely, for sure. I think you want that 6-star relic. In the playlist right now, you have some gameplay from Bitter Steel, who does have the 6-star relic and is pulling off some really nice results. Moving to the tech class now, again in the top shelf. So this is the second tier for those of you who are listening. This isn't the highest tier of tech attackers. The second one, we have Viv Vision. She's not fulfilling her promise. She also has a bit of a cash out moment, right? You're building, and then you cash out. So again, this kind of fits a little bit with what I was saying about Mantis and Shocker. I want to see them pull this off. I think it's going to be a tricky one to thread. She obviously can do good things. Simula has put out some very nice Viv Vision videos. I believe Grass has as well. She's powerful. She can do well, but I don't think she's doing as well as she was intended. Again, like them, I know I'm reiterating a little bit, but I could see there being concern of making that cash out moment too strong and then have this champion taking fights that in no way were they intended to. I want to see the buff. I feel fine with her here. With the proper buff, or if they're able to thread that needle, I think she'll move up right like Mantis into that tier above all, but right now she's not there. Now in the Cosmic class, this is the tier above all. We have Thor. Now Misty caught this and put Thor in the screenshot size that went out, but Thor was not in the video. It was just a mistake. It was an absence of mind, just slipped. Thor is obviously phenomenal. You get him ranked up high enough, and you do want the SIG 200. That's why I've got the SIG 200 notation there. I know he was nerfed. I was playing the game way back when he got nerfed, and I guess maybe we all just got too scared to take Thor to the highest rank, the highest variety of the highest SIG, right? I mean, that's a big investment, but we're seeing what he can do, and he does handle problematic defenders. Needs to be able to land the armor breaks. That's kind of why I'm a little hesitant to rank up mine, because I'm still mainly struggling with these like very large, beefy Mystic defenders who are either armor break immune or they do bad things to you when you armor break them. But that being said, Killmongers exist, Penny Parkers exist, and other champions and defenders exist who are often you face in Battlegrounds. Thor, very, very good. Do not sleep on that. And those are the attackers. Let's go ahead and move to the defenders. All right, we have 3 defenders we're going to talk about, and this is, again, one of the newest champions in the game, in the Mystic tier above all, and I don't feel like it's wrong. As far as pure defenders, Kindred's at the top of the list. I feel good about that for a couple of reasons. One is he is new. I don't think he needs the newness emoji though, because I think he's definitely defined and intended to be a very difficult defender. I pulled one when I gave up on my Silk grind, and I opened the early access and actually got 6-star Kindred. My alliance mates and a lot of very smart players were like, you know what? You may have actually gotten the better champion for your purposes, meaning mine. They knew I wanted a really good defender. They know I like to place a tough defense. It's part of how I play Battlegrounds. I ranked him up, took him to Sig 100, rank 4. He went into 5 matches. And he actually, I think, killed the defender or the attacker in 4 of them. And the other one, someone did beat him with a 7-star Titania. If that was you, well done. But the champions he was defeating were Scorpions and Human Torches. You know how great I think Scorpion is. I did the rank 5 video because I was like, y'all gotta see this. And Human Torch versus a Mystic, that should be an instant death for the Mystic. But there's a mechanic in Kindred, that's why you want the high Sig, right? I don't think you necessarily have to have Sig 200, so I don't have that label up there right now. But you want him awakened, and he does that whole root thing. Bad things happen, you have to know how to fight him, and then you have to be able to execute it in the fight itself. If you don't have one, you're gonna wanna ban him, or you're gonna wanna make sure you know how to fight him and also have answers. Right now, I'm aware that Spider-Ham could, because Spider-Ham's got that degen resistance. I believe it's Mr. Negative. There's probably other answers out there with skilled play. If you know some or you want to share the information, put it in the comments. But it's Mr. Negative. That's like the one. There you go. Moving on to skill. We have the Tuma, the buff. I mean, again, well done. Whoever's doing these buffs, balance designers, or I don't know if it was balance. I don't know who does it, but if it's balance, well done. Mantis and a Tuma, really, really great. They came out and they did exactly what it seemed like they were intended to do. You can get in both situations why there may have been fear about putting forth what the buff ultimately ended up being. Mantis being a little concerned about going way too far, creating this dominant champion who's just destroying stuff with a single SB2 and no skilled play required. Atuma, Thorns damage too much and players are just taking cheap damage that they don't want to take, right? This helped him offensively with starting off with those multiple concussions, or it helps him get into his loop better, but he's a defender. We have the little fencing emoji there to show you there's going to be some matches where you might be able to use him. He's not pointless on defense. With strategic play and drafting and things like that, you might be able to use him and do good things, but he's intended to be a defender, and that's where he's going to be strongest. There's not a lot of natural counters to him. Yes, people were starting to even use Titania for him, which I'm sure was not one of the considered natural counters, but that's a Titania thing. That's not an Atuma thing. You know, Omega Red, Gambit is part of why I have Gambit up as high as I do. Some other good champions might be able to take Atuma CGR, but often they're gonna take some damage while doing it. And with the timing change in Battlegrounds, that's becoming an increasingly bigger deal. Atuma to me is still the new hot, well, Kindred might be the new hotness. Only time you'll ever hear hotness and Kindred right next to each other like that. And then the last champion we're going to talk real quickly about is Mysterio. I know some of you will be like, hey, Vega, you said you wanted him to be your next rank 2 7-star in the tech class, and you even regretted taking up Lady Deathstrike over him. Why do you have in Defender? Well, it's exactly what I was saying at various points in this video, is to me, defenders are just as important as your dual threats. You need to make sure you have them. You want to have them. You're not, in my opinion, you're not going to be able to fill your roster purely, at least not right now, with only dual threats. And there are going to be times where you want those really tough defenders. I still think he's more of a defender than offensive champion, even though I showed and showcased offensive uses for him that are extremely valuable. We've got him with the fencing emoji. That means that these defenders also have offensive use capabilities. You draft him, you put him on your deck. If your opponent gets, you know, Gallon or Hercules or Hulkling or something like that, someone that's going to potentially destroy your Mysterio. Really, Cosmic Ghost Rider is the one because he starts off with that armor break against villain champions. And then if something bad happens, like maybe your opponent drafts a Domino or a Rintra or these other champions that I showed Mysterio against, then you got your Mysterio and you're good to go. So that's what we kind of talked about, this like skilled play when we were talking about earlier in the video, where they're using Toad really well. I personally can't do it. I don't know him well enough. I don't have that ability with that champion, but I do with Mysterio, and it's worked out exceptionally well for me. If you want to view Mysterio as a dual threat, I think that's totally fine. I still think of him as a defender that can have that nice offensive use. And we've got him right there. That's it. That's the update for this month. This is obviously a big month, a lot of excitement for it, right? We've got the Battlegrounds Brawl, and so many competitors are doing their best to try to get into that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited for the Battlegrounds season. I'm hoping I can get to play a little bit more of it myself than I did this last season, but only time will tell. Let me know what we got right. Let me know what we got wrong. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.